Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a program overview of the next 12 weeks of programming that I'm planning out going into my meet in February. I've got a conducting baton to help point out stuff. I've got my big whiteboard, much bigger than Garrett Blevins, and I also have a little whiteboard that I will be in between takes writing stuff to try to keep you guys understanding it. There's a lot of different concepts that go into it. Ultimately, I think it's pretty simple when you get the idea, but there are some complex programming ideas that are being implemented. So I hope you guys follow along all right, and if there are any questions, go ahead and feel free to leave those in the comment section. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so here we go. First I'm going to show you guys the split. It's a 4-day split, and forgive my handwriting. But here we've got day 1, which is going to be Tuesdays for me. It's going to be my primary squat, my primary bench work. It's going to have this overarching idea that my primary day is going to revolve around 3 attempts, but I'll get into that in more detail after the split's finished. Day 2 is my primary deadlift and a secondary bench press. That's a Thursday. Day 3 is going to be Saturdays, and that is my secondary squat and a third bench press. And then day 4 is my secondary deadlift, bench. This will probably be more of a recovery style bench, and then any accessories that I feel like doing. I don't plan on doing accessories on any of these other days, mostly just because the work that itself will just take so much time that if I want to throw in an extra day for some GPP or something, or accessories, that's just the way it's going to have to work. I just don't want to spend 5 hours in the gym trying to get all my regular volume in and then accessories on top of it. So let's get into the actual program. Alright guys, so you're probably going to want to full screen this so you can understand kind of what's going on. Again, forgive me for the terrible handwriting. This is just going to be a breakdown of one example workout, and this is my day 1 example workout. So, primary squat, what it sounds like. It's going to be a competition squat. I'm not going to do a variation of it. Primary bench, it's going to be my competition bench press with, full pauses, everything just like I would do in a competition. At this point, I still haven't added in any of my equipment, so I'm not using a belt at this point, and I'm also not using my knee sleeves. When I get to an appropriate point in the progression, I will add those back in. Same thing with wrist wraps on the bench press and my belt during the bench press, because that's how I perform the lift. So the way that I'm setting all this up is I'm going to be working off of estimated weekly maxes. So it's kind of the RTS principle, where I will use an RPE scale to see where I'm at for a day, and I'll determine where I'm at, with my primary squat. And I'm going to get up to a 90. I'm taking 3 attempts, a 90% attempt, a 95% attempt, and a 100% attempt. Each one of the sessions on day 1 and day 3 for these main lifts, based off of what my projected max is for that day. So I'm not saying that I'm going to be hitting a single at these, but I'm going to be testing it in 5s, triples, and doubles, and that's the way that's going to work out. I will use this formula, the calculation, to determine what my estimated max is, and that will determine what my planned top set is, and then I will base these percentages off of that top set and what works for it. So it's the calculation I use is the weight lifted times the number of reps times 0.0, and that should be 333. I messed that up. And it's going to, then you equal that out. It should be a pretty small number, and then you add the weight back in, and it gives you an estimate. It's not 100% accurate. It's the farther you get away from 1 or 2, the less accurate it ends up being. So the 5s will probably be the least accurate to that, but for the sake of the progression, I'm using that. Any volume work that I do afterwards will be using appropriate prescriptions based on Prelipin's table, Prelipin's chart, and determining what optimal percentages should be used for what kind of volumes I am feeling up to after this work. So we're going to go into this example workout, because that's all kind of hard to digest and it probably doesn't make all that much sense. So let's say that this is going to be Tuesday's workout. So 11 weeks out is doubles on my program. And based off of what I've done last week and a slight increase, I'm going to say that a 602 would be an appropriate estimated 1 rep max for me without a belt and without sleeves. That is hopefully not, hopefully I can do a little bit more, but we'll just kind of see how things go. And so I have these 3 attempts as my planned sets that I'm going to take. Now some of you are thinking, wait, math, right? 602, 90% of 602 isn't 505. That is correct. What I did is I took 505, and if you take it for a double, you use this formula, it gives you a 538 estimated single, which means when you hit 505 for a double, it should feel roughly the equivalent to doing a 538 single. 90% of 602 is 541.8. So this was the closest conversion that I could get to where I would hit a double and it would be somewhere roughly the equivalent to 90% of that weight. That's my first attempt. That's like an opener in a meet. Using the same logic, I picked my second attempt here. 540 for a double should be roughly the equivalent to hitting a 575 single. 95% of this weight is 571. I mean, you can see it's not exact. It's not super close, but I'm not using microplates and I'm not using loading like that. So I just decided that this would work close enough for my purposes and what I'm trying to do. These first 2 attempts are to demonstrate for me, or to simulate, I guess, the idea where I'll go to a meet, take a moderate opener, take a 5% jump if that feels right, and then hopefully go to 100% of what my goal weight ends up being. So here, this third attempt, I guess, this third real work set is a 100% attempt, and I based all of these off of what my hopeful 100% attempts are going to be, and the progression goes pretty slowly over time. I think the biggest one, I take a couple that are maybe 7-pound assumed increases over the course of a week, but that's ultimately going to get me to my my end goal, which at the meet, in 11 weeks should be a lot bigger than this. And so 565 for a double. If I hit that, then I was accurate for my my assumed max for the day, and I'm on track. If I take this 540 double and it feels super easy, I might go 570 and be a little bit ahead of schedule because that'll be a little bit higher than my goal. If I take 540 and I feel like it's the slowest rep ever and my sleep and my recovery and everything's been bad, I'm not going to worry so much about it. I might just repeat this again, because doing a set of, working in the 95% range of what your goal for the day is still not a bad day. It's just not exactly what you want. If that kind of thing continued for more than a week or more than 2 weeks, then I'd have some trouble, and it means that something's off and I'm not progressing at the rate I should be. After this work, I'll take a load drop to either somewhere around 75 or 80% of whatever that weight is, which means week to week, these numbers are going to change. 80% this week is not going to be the same as 80% next week. It should be higher next week if my number goes up. And so in this way, the program auto-regulates itself so that the intensities are relative to where my max actually is. It's not stagnant. At the end of 11 weeks, my max should be much, much, much higher than this based on the weights that I'm using. Using these and determining how this felt. If this was rough, I got all of them, but I'm pretty burnt out, I'm probably going to keep my volume relatively low for the rest of this workout. And so in the 75 to 80 rep range, using Prelipin's chart, the ideal rep ranges to use for me with my squats are between a 2 and a 4 rep, with 6 total lifts to 12 total lifts being considered low volume, 12 total lifts to 18 total lifts being considered medium volume, and then 18 to 21 being high volume. If I crush this and it's super easy, I'm probably going to be taking either, whatever this rep range I decide I want to do, and I'm going to be trying to hit a higher amount of lifts in that total range. The idea behind this is that I will be auto-regulating my volume based off of how I'm feeling for that day. At the same time, I have very specific goals. I'm going in with something in mind. I'm not just saying, oh, I'm going to see how everything goes and it's just going to happen. I'm going to be pursuing these numbers, and then I will be using a percentage based off of whatever my capabilities are for that day, and trying to work within that. So I'll be working as hard as I possibly can on that day, hopefully as much as I have anticipated. After the squatting's done, I'll move on to my bench. And for this particular one, I'm trying to slowly, the same thing, my squat, my bench, and my deads, I purposely gave myself numbers that I thought were low to start out, so I had somewhere to build to and get used to the progression, and kind of, I don't want to burn out too fast. I've got 11 weeks to go. I don't want to try to outrun it and peak too quickly or overload the progression where I can't keep up. I would rather go up a little bit each week and go from 602 all the way up through the mid-sixes than I would try to hit a true max on this or a true max on this and leave myself burnt out. Ideally, all these top sets should be at around a 9 RPE. I should still feel like if I needed to, end of the world, gun to my head, that I could hit one more rep, and that's the way that I want to keep those. You know, this squat has to be low enough. If I don't hit these squats with good form, or if I really heave and sink this press and my butt comes off, I can't really call that a good attempt, and it is just not accurate to what I'm doing. So I have to make sure that my technique is staying solid, which is another reason that I put the weights so low at the start, and they'll be going forward. You know, they'll be going higher as we go. So the same idea, 90% of 362 is about the equivalent to 305 for a double. Same thing with 95, 320 for a double. This isn't 95% of this, but together these reps should feel about like 95% of that. Same thing here with this top set, 340 for a double, and that'll be 100% of the goal. That would leave me at around a 362 max, which is low. I actually had a higher projected max this week, but I wanted to make sure that I had somewhere to build on and somewhere to progress, so I'm just not stagnant the entire time. Same idea with the load drop, but instead of 2 to 4 reps, I usually, my bench volume is I can handle more per set, just because of the nature of the thing. Squats tax me a lot more than my upper body lifting does. So 3 to 5 reps in the 75 to 85 or 80% range. I might even go 85 if I was feeling it that day. And then appropriate volume regulation depending on how the rest of the workout's going, what my time restraints are, and that's the way that this first day is set up. So that's that one, and I'll clear this off and set up the deadlift example, and we'll keep moving forward. Alright guys, we are back, and here you can see up there on the top of the whiteboard it says day 3 deadlift and bench. This is still the same example week. So after I have done those squats and benches on the Tuesday, this will be Thursday's workout. After Wednesday will be a recovery day. Right now, deadlift with the estimated 1 rep max set at around a 725. After my last workout, it actually is much higher than this, but again, I'm keeping these numbers really contained right now because I want it to progress. I don't want to try and burn myself out. It's one of those things, if you build up the strength, you know, this isn't the part of the program where I'm trying to test everything. This is the part of the program where I'm getting used to handling some of these bigger attempt type situations, but at the same time I'm having a lot of volume that I'm using to build everything up. As I progress through the 12 weeks, the volume will slowly start to lower, and the intensity of these is going to go up as they progress towards what a real 1 rep max is going to feel like. That's the idea and the intention anyway. So here I've got, I should say 615, I don't know why I wrote a 612. 615 for a double. That should feel like an equivalent single at 90% of that 75. 645 for my second, and then 680 for a double to finish it out. Still planning to do this session beltless as well. It's been going really well for me. I'll probably add the belt when I get back up towards the doubles in the next time, just for the sake of specificity for the lifting. Earlier last week I wasn't able to do any load drops because I had a time restriction, but I don't plan on doing much extra volume on this day for my deadlifts, and so deadlift reps between 2 and 4 at 75 to 80% of whatever that estimated 1 rep is. Same idea for the low, medium, or high volumes depending on how everything else feels and how ready I feel to go on that. Probably closer to a medium to low on this day. Usually heavy deads tend to kill my desire to do any back off work. So I'm just being honest with myself there. Next up is bench press. This is going to be different. This isn't on the same system because this is, remember, this is my primary deadlift. I've already done all 3 of my primary lifts now. Now I'm on to the secondary. So my secondary bench is going to be volume work. And for the most part, I will set these up. These will be feet up and or a wide grip or something. Working with some more reps, higher rep range, 4 to 7. For a medium to high volume protocol based on whatever percentage I decide to go on for that day. Again, it will depend on how I feel. It's very much regulated by that, but I will do either a medium or a high volume range in this rep range, whatever percentage I end up using of my estimated 1 rep for that week. And then after that, I will do some technique singles, 4 to 5 singles, as it would be in a competition, up to a possible 90. I don't want to go over 90% on these because I will be fatigued. You guys may have seen this if you watched my deadlift workout from this last week. I worked up and I did 4 sets of 5 with my feet up on the bench, and then I backed off and did 4 singles at 315 and a 5th single at 335, just working on my pause and being really crisp and solid and making sure that my technique was on point, because the point of this volume stuff is to get stronger. The point of this kind of work and these singles is to build up my confidence and my actual preparedness to lift in a powerlifting meet and do 3 attempts and have good form and be consistent and not have technical breakdown even when I'm tired. That's why I have the singles here after this volume work. These are not going to feel fresh. This is going to feel heavier than it usually would, but I want to be used to that. So if I go to the meet and I feel tired and I feel like mentally lazy, I'm used to still having to hit more work than I would want to normally do to a higher standard. So that's how that's going to work. So we'll move on to the other days, which are gonna not utilize this idea. They're not gonna have the 3 attempts. The 5th day and the 6th day, my Saturday and Sunday workouts, are going to primarily be focused on getting whatever volume I've done for the week up to my range of volume that I have programmed for that week. Like I said, I'm going to be managing my fatigue and managing my volume all the way through. Further out from the meet, it's okay for me to accrue a little bit of fatigue, but I still need to be kind of recovered. When I get to the middle of the program, I want to make sure that I have enough of a fatigue deficit that I am not feeling amazing all the time, and then I will try to overreach in the last couple of weeks so that I can taper out and have a super compensation effect. But I will explain that in the next portion. Alright guys, back again. This is going to be day 5 workout, so this is my Saturday session. It's squat, my secondary squat, and my 3rd focused bench press. Still the example of 11 weeks out, but this is less important on this day. Day 5 and 6 are the volume acclimation days. These are the days where, the Tuesday's workout for the squat and the bench press is really important, that I am staying on track and the progression is really planned and really solid, and hopefully moving forward. That's the day that gets the most focus. Thursday, the same thing with the deadlift. It's a planned progression that goes over time. Any percentages that I'm working with here are based off of whatever the estimated max is that was established in those first days. And so for my squat, this is just kind of volume. However much volume I did after my my Tuesday session, when I hit my squats and whatever my back offsets are, I factor in how much volume I got in there, and then somewhere between 70 and 85%, depending on how beat up I am. This is really, really up to how I'm feeling and what my regulation's like. I'll work with anywhere between triples to sets of as high as 6, at least at the beginning of the training block. And I'll use that Prelepin's table again to regulate that volume and keep my week's total volume in an appropriate range, from a low to a high, starting out higher and eventually moving to lower volume as I get closer to the meet. After those, the same idea that I did with the benching on that Thursday, because this is the secondary squat session. I hit my volume work, and then I want to hit some singles, something that's below 90%. I don't ever want to go above 90% on these because I will be tired, and the idea is to be fatigued and still force myself to hit depth, make good just good solid reps and build some mental toughness. This is less of a training effect and it's more of a mental effect. It is really difficult to hit singles when you are done with volume work. It really taxes you. I have a tendency to want to bring my squat depth up to a shallower squat, and when it comes meet time, I might be grinding through some stuff and not feeling as great as I would hope to, and I will rely back on the way that these feel for keeping my technique solid and making sure that I'm doing what I need to and performing the lift appropriately. My bench work here, day 3 the focus is long pauses, so day 1's my competition and maybe some back off using some close grip type techniques. The day 3 that I had was my feet up, so no leg drive for the volume part. This one is going to be long pauses, so anywhere from 3 to 8 seconds, depending on how I'm feeling for that day. 3 to 4 sets of singles all the way to triples. Again, this is not so much for a training effect on the muscle or on the neurology. This is mostly to build mental toughness and build my my conditioning in a sense of holding true to what I'm planning on doing. I don't want to short my pauses here. I want to make sure that they're good. I don't want to have the weight sinking in, and it's almost just to keep myself honest and keep myself from sacrificing my technique due to fatigue or however things are going. And then again, I will pad more volume, this time at 80%. I'll do an appropriate amount because I want to keep my volume on this day after these at least somewhere in the 80% range, because that's where you can really exert maximum force. Anything less than that is kind of volume for a different purpose, and so I feel like my bench on this day should be fresh enough still. My bench recovery is a lot faster than my squat or my deadlift recovery, and so I should be able to hit some work at 80%, again using the Prelipin regulation to make sure that my volume over the course of the week is on track to be in the appropriate range. So basically the same thing here is going to happen with my deadlifts on Sunday. I don't even want to bother writing that out for you guys. It's the same idea. I'm not even sure. Probably a little bit less volume because my deadlifts do take a lot more out of me. So I'll bring these numbers down a little bit. I don't know how many singles or if I will even be doing singles. And I'll probably throw in something like a pause deadlift if things are, things are feeling right. With the benching for day 6 or the Sunday workout, it's just going to be a recovery bench. I probably won't go very heavy at all. It'll be just some rep work to get blood to the muscle. And then whatever accessories I feel, if I'm finding any weaknesses, I will address those appropriately on that Sunday workout. So I think all that's really left is to kind of talk about the way that the volume is distributed throughout the weeks, and instead of writing it down with the exact stuff of saying what my fatigue management and everything's going to be like, it does tend to progress in the direction of a higher volume to a lower volume, except for 3 weeks out and 2 weeks out. I will probably spike the volume back up again to cause the overreaching effect that will then hopefully force the super compensation come meet week. And then there will be a peak where I'll taper off the week before the contest. I will still be training at least 2 or 3 times, and I haven't quite decided what that's going to look like, but up till now this is what the plan looks like. Those estimated maxes will be generally trending upward on an average of 5 to 10 pounds a week, and it's gonna probably spike pretty hard when I add my training gear back in with my my belt, my knee sleeves, my wrist straps, and all that stuff that helps me lift more. So I'm really excited. I think this has been a great off season, and I have a feeling that this program, if everything goes the way I want it to, I feel like I'm hitting all my bases and fixing the stuff and focusing on the things that I personally really need to work on, and it should be a really good meet come February. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like rating if you did enjoy it. Comment down below if you have questions about what the plan is and how it's going. And other than that, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.